Who is the best Disney Channel boyfriend? I will give you the answer for that today. A Disney Channel boyfriend is the arm candy of your favorite Disney Channel lead. But who is the best boyfriend? Who stole the hearts of the viewers like they stole the hearts of our favorite main characters? Before we dive on into this, we are going to go over what counts as a Disney Channel boyfriend, so there is no confusion. The criteria for being a Disney Channel boyfriend. 1. You have to be in more than 3 episodes. aka, I'm not including some of the boyfriends that were only in an episode and then they got broken up for a plot point. aka Alex Russo having boyfriends for singular episodes that we never see again. And that is mainly because I don't remember any of their names, so why would I talk about them? Criteria 2. They have to be dating the main character. This means the male main character dating a side character does not count. So Zach and Cody will not be included in this because they didn't date themselves. And Oliver from Hannah Montana will not be counted even though he is a boyfriend. He didn't date the main character. He dated a side character. Let's start talking about the potential candidates. Starting off with the bottom of the list, we have the two-timing pig, also known as Spencer Walsh. The only reason he is below Jake Ryan, even though they both committed the same heinous crime, is because at least Jake was somewhat interesting. Spencer was as interesting as a wet noodle. Spencer was Teddy's longest love interest in Good Luck Charlie. He was in every season, unlike Teddy's other love interests who were rather short-lived. For example, one of Teddy's boyfriends was named Derek. The only thing about him on his fandom wiki is Derek is a motorcyclist who dated Teddy for a while. That is the only information about this man. At least our other boyfriends have last names. This man is just Derek. Anyways, back to Spencer, unfortunately. In case you couldn't guess by how I've been talking about him, I don't like Spencer. He was introduced in season 1. He seemed fine. He was a bit cocky. He and Teddy seemed cute together until he cheated on Teddy with a girl called Skylar who ended up dating Teddy's brother PJ. Only scenes I remember about him were him getting the smoothies dunked on his head and Ivy throwing him up against the locker. And those were both from episodes where he cheated. So other than him cheating, there's nothing interesting about him. He's very forgettable. He was always there, but he wasn't doing anything. Teddy dumped him after she found out he cheated, but his cheating wasn't the last we saw of him, unfortunately, because after that, they brought him back into the show. He and Teddy got back together. Then they broke up when they both went to college, and then they got back together again. Please set Teddy free from this mundane man. Why were the writers so intent on these two being endgame? Teddy could have dated a plank of wood, and it would have been more interesting than Spencer. So that's why Spencer is number 8. Jake Ryan is the love interest of Miley Stewart in Hannah Montana. Jake is a famous actor who ends up going to Miley's school. He came in season 1, and him and Miley did not get along at all, but they eventually grew to like each other. This could have been an iconic enemies to lover. It could have been near the top. But in season 4, he cheats on Miley and breaks her heart. In the episode where Miley finds out Jake cheated on her, they were meant to be doing a Christmas special together. And then Miley hit Jake with a candy cane in front of a bunch of children. Imagine being those children. But how do you explain that when you go to school the next day? Oh yeah, I saw Hannah Montana hitting one of her elves. Interesting core memory for those children. That was like an iconic moment. And then Miley told him she was Hannah Montana. He was the third person to find that out. After Lily, Oliver, then it was Jake. And he had to let us all down. He should have broke his leg when he parachuted down. Moving on to the next boyfriend, Lucas Fryer from Girl Meets World. I'm going to be honest, I never liked Lucas. All I ever remember him doing was smiling, especially in season 1. He reminds me a lot of Beck from Victoria, and by that I mean he was there and he was handsome. Nothing else about him comes to mind. I remember when I was younger, I was so confused as to why Riley liked him. There was no dazzling personality. He did speak more in later seasons, but when he was speaking, he was saying stupidity, so we're going to ignore that. You might be thinking, what stupidity was he saying, Kelby? Well, he became a homewrecker of friendship when he was bouncing between Riley and Maya. So 1, he was uninteresting, and 2, he broke up friendship. I mean, they were all friends again, but I still blame Lucas. Whilst researching for this video, there was a list on his fandom wiki of all the nicknames we have. This is just by Maya. There are more. Hee Ha, Ranger Rick, Ranger Roy, Bucky McBoing Boing, Hop Along, Dundant, The Lamb That Mary Had, Cowboy, Moral Compass, Young Lucas, Lone Star, Huckleberry, and Quick Draw. Those are all by Maya. There are more. The most interesting one was Mortimer Twigglebottom Smith, and the reason that's the most interesting one because he called himself that. Anyway, moving on to the next person. We have Bo Landry from Good Luck Charlie. He was also a love interest of Teddy, who Teddy met when he started working for Bob, her father, in season 4. They broke up because he had to move back to Tennessee. This made Teddy and Bob very sad. Clearly he's the superior Teddy boyfriend purely because he didn't cheat. Teddy had a bunch of romantic interests, but these were the only boyfriends she had. Spencer, Derek, no last name, and Beau. Beau is clearly superior, and he had a cool southern accent, so I liked him. He also got along great with her dad. Spencer didn't. We didn't like Spencer, because Spencer smells. I really hate Spencer. Moving on. Dean Moriarty from Wizards of Waverly Place. Dean was Alex's second longest boyfriend in Wizards of Waverly Place. They dated throughout season 2 and then broke up after Dean had to move away. Actually, they didn't break up when Dean moved away. They stayed together and tried to do long distance, and Alex's way of doing long distance was invading his dreams. I don't think that's healthy, but you can never say Alex Russo did not try and keep that relationship together, and that was kind of commendable. In season 4, Dean comes back to town and tries to date Alex again. And Mason, her ex at the time, kind of eats him because he's a werewolf. He eats him whole and apparently shrinks him down in his stomach. Is that a werewolf power? Because he was miniaturized. It's quicker than sitting there eating an entire person, but they just never explained it. He was just miniature. They did eventually get Dean out, and Alex and Dean don't date. We don't see him again. But the reason I like him than some of the other boyfriends mentioned, because he used to say, "You're Russo," and I found that cool. That's why he's 4. Also, he didn't ask questions. There were so many instances where Alex was doing weird stuff. At one point, he was driving a car and then fell asleep because Alex teleported next to him and the spell that she uses, and he doesn't question it much. He just goes, "Oh, how did you get here?" Also, his last name is Moriarty. That is so cool. We are now into the top 3. Starting off with number 3, Mason Greybeck. I did not know Mason had a last name. Fellow Brett. He was introduced technically in season 2 when future Harper mentions him, but we don't see him until season 3 when Alex and him are in an art class together and they start dating. They have a continuous on again off again relationship. In one of their off periods, Mason gets jealous and eats Dean, as I mentioned before. The reason they were broken up is because Alex decided not to be a wizard because of a situation that happened, and mortals and werewolves can't date because the werewolf might eat the mortal, which Mason proved the second he got mad. He did eat Dean. That's not a healthy response to jealousy. You could talk it out. He was like, no, I'm going to consume an entire person instead of talking about my feelings, which seems like a very British response in my opinion. I feel like a lot of people would do that. The main reason Mason is number 3 is because in the episode Wizards vs. Werewolf, he accidentally confesses his love to Juliet. I do not know how you accidentally confess your love for someone, but he did. And then he worked the entire episode to prove for some reason he just went temporarily insane and that he does love Alex. And the entire episode looking for a love detecting necklace to prove that he does love Alex. So Alex forgave him, I guess. We have to move on. Mason and Alex are still together. And from what I remember, when Mason is not confessing his love for his girlfriend's brother's girlfriend, he's funnier than the rest of the list and he has a notable personality. So he's number 3. Now on to number 2. We have Jesse from Hannah Montana. When I started doing research for this video, I thought Jesse was going to be lower on the list. But after rewatching some of his episodes, the boy has game. I will admit it. If I was Miley, I would have folded the second I met him. Jesse met Miley as Hannah, which is a difference from her last idiotic boyfriend, Jake Ryan, who met her when she was Miley. Jesse was a band member for the family. They both felt an instant connection when they met, but they don't date because Hannah still wants to try and go out with Jake Ryan. I remember when I was 10, when she chose to date Jake, I was mad. I was furious. Little 10-year-old me was shaking in her boots in anger at the fact that she chose stupid Jake Ryan. But Jake and Miley don't stay together, as we know. Jesse and Miley don't see each other for a while until Jesse bumps into her at the pier. But this time he bumps into her as Miley, and then they hit it off and they go on a few dates. And just when Miley is about to tell him her secret, he tells her he already knows she's Hannah Montana because of her beautiful eyes and smile. This guy who, if we add up both the times he knew her as Hannah and knew her as Miley, probably equated to 2 months. He recognized her after a couple of dates, but her 2 best friends of years could not put 2 and 2 together. Oliver even had a crush on her as Hannah and did not realize it was Miley. Those two need to step up their best friend game. And at the end, when she reveals that Miley and Hannah are the same people, she does it because people start accusing Jesse of being a cheater, but he isn't a cheater, he's dating one girl who looks like 2 different people. And she does it for him. She reveals her secret for him. To number 1 on my list. Finally, we have Mr. Chad Dylan Cooper, one half of the iconic enemies to lovers duo in Sunny with a Charm. Chad is the boyfriend of Sunny. They first meet in the 2nd episode of the show. Chad is on the show Mackenzie Falls, which rivals Sunny's show So Random. And actually, I don't think they rival each other because Mackenzie Falls is a drama and So Random is a comedy sketch show, so Chad's hatred for them is just purely them existing. He is the original hater. Sunny and Chad argue every chance they get, and the half time they end up fight flirting, and I used to love it, and I was rooting for them. They were my OTP before I knew what an OTP was. They get together in the episode Falling for Fall, and I found it so cute. They do break up eventually, and they don't get back together, but that's because the show was cancelled due to other reasons. And I believe if the show had more seasons, if they had 4 seasons, Sunny and Chad would have been endgame. I'm ignoring the breakup. Since this is the couple that had the most chemistry, all the rest of them, it was kind of thrown together. These two liked each other even when they were trying. This is my favorite genre to read and book. So yeah, I think it started with these two. He might have been an egotistical and selfish person a lot of the time, but he was a good boyfriend when they were dating. He also has a long list of enemies, which includes Zac Efron, and I found that funny. My day's been great, and I hope you guys have an amazing day. Bye!